Good morning, 7th graders. Thank you for tuning in to our Week 3 World History Distance Learning Screencast. I hope you and your families are doing well. I think about you guys every day, and I miss you, and I hope that we can work our way through this global crisis quickly and get back to regular school. And it's important to me every week when I get a chance to record these and share some learning with you guys. So again, this is Week 3. Right now we're on our Middle Ages China unit, and so far you've been introduced to the unit, and you've examined Chinese dynasties in the Middle Ages, and today we're going to take it a step further and look at Chinese geography in the Middle Ages, and more importantly, how geography plays a role in how countries defend themselves. So again, thank you for tuning in, and here we go. Let's move on. Oh, excuse me, one moment. Okay. So thank you for completing the Week 2 lesson activity titled Middle Ages China, Chinese Dynasties. And remember, all of our weekly screencasts and activities are found in the weekly distance learning folder in Schoology. So go ahead and make sure that you click on those each week. That's also how one way we take attendance is seeing if you guys have accessed the material. So let's try to make sure we do that often. Okay, so let's begin our look at our Week 3 unit topic, which is Geography of China. So if you remember in World History and Geography, our class, we study the different themes of world history, and that includes politics, economics, culture, religion, history, and geography. So if you want to know something about a place or region or time, geography is one of those windows that you look through to learn about a particular area and identify why certain civilizations make decisions. Geography is a big part of those decisions. Okay, so here is, as we watch this screencast, let's go ahead and consider this question, our topic starter question. And at the end, go ahead and try to create an answer to this, and then when we meet at our Zoom class on Friday, we can go ahead and try to answer that as a discussion. So, how can geography protect a nation from invaders? So as we scroll through the screencast, let's go ahead and keep that question in mind. All right, so geography of China. What is geography's role in any civilization, not just China's, but in any? Geography has always played a key role in the economic and political and cultural development of civilization throughout time, including China's. Okay, so things like mountains and rivers and coastline and animals and plants and resources that are available to people, those all influence decisions that civilizations made in the Middle Ages. For instance, deserts are areas where most people won't choose to live. However, coastlines with fresh water and a mild climate, such as Southern California, might be where people choose to live. In fact, today we have, 9 million people in Southern California. And that's largely due to its geographic location and its access to coastline and resources and weather and things like that. So humans throughout time have always made those kinds of decisions related to geography. Okay, moving on. All right, we're going to look at 3 geographic features of China in the Middle Ages. We're going to look at the Yellow River, the Gobi Desert, and the Himalayan mountains. And as we look at the river, the desert, and the mountains, we're going to ask ourselves that starter question: how does geography play a role in defending a country? So the first item we're going to look at is the Yellow River. The Yellow River, the longest in China, has always been an economic and cultural force throughout history. A question you might want to ask yourself is, why are rivers economic forces. What sort of economic benefit can you gain from a river? Why would rivers be cultural? What sort of cultural activities or cultural stories might be related to rivers? Both of those, and not just in China, but around the world where there's river civilizations, you're going to find that they're generally, have a big economic and cultural impact on those civilizations. Okay, moving on. All right, so where civilization began in China. If you guys remember your 6th grade world history class, river civilizations were the first civilizations on Earth, okay? You have the civilization of India, which emerged on the Indus River, the civilization of Egypt, which emerged on the Nile River, the civilizations of Mesopotamia, which emerged on the Tigris and Euphrates River. And then you also have one of the world's earliest civilizations, that of China, which emerged on the Yellow River. Okay, now why is that? That's another good question. Why did civilizations start on the edge of rivers? Well, when people hunted and gathered, they had to move around to find food and gather food and hunt for food. However, once they solved the problem of farming, they were no longer forced to wander for food. They could grow food. So the science of planting food and starting farms enabled people to stay in one place. Once they stayed in one place, that was the first roots of civilization, of what became permanent villages and cities and later nations and civilizations. So rivers played a huge role in the economic and cultural development of civilizations. In the case of China, when the first farmers planted crops along the Yellow River in 1500 BCE, China became one of the world's first civilizations. Moving on. Why is the Yellow River a powerful economic force? Well, an economic water freeway. Rivers are water freeways. They can be used for transport. The Yellow River, with its wide shores lined by villages, became the most important waterway for trade in China during the Middle Ages. So not only does water provide irrigation for farms, fresh water from rivers, but it also provides transportation of those farm products to markets where they can be sold. And the river itself provides a resource. The food in the river, the water in the river, that becomes an economic resource. So China, which was one of the earliest civilizations in the world, they relied on the Yellow River for their growth, much as did other early world civilizations. All right, moving on. Now let's look at mountains. Let's go back for a moment. Let's answer our question. How do rivers play a role in defending a nation? Okay, I want you to think about that. How can rivers play a strategic role in the defense of a country? That's not really cultural or economic. That's more of a political question. So let's see if you can answer that. All right, moving on. Our next geographic feature we're going to look at in Middle Ages China are the Himalayan mountains. The Himalayan mountains are on the southeast border of China, and they border with the nation of India, and they are the largest in the world. Mount Everest is one of the Himalayan mountains, and that's 29,000 feet. That's the height at which airplanes fly. And to climb Everest, you need oxygen. So these are very large, formidable mountains, and they stretch along the southeast border of India for 1,400 miles. So the Himalayan mountains, the largest in the world, run along China's southeast border with India for 1,400 miles. Okay, so now, again, back to our starter question. How could geographic features help defend a country? If you have a mountain range that's 1,400 miles long and 29,000 feet high, I think you could imagine how that might form a barrier from invaders. Moving on. Not only were the Himalayan mountains a political force for defense, they also were a cultural and religious importance to the China. So mountains are sacred. These mountains in China have been sacred since the ancient times through the Middle Ages. The Himalayan mountains have always been religiously sacred to the Chinese and played an important role in the growth of Buddhism in China. Now, we haven't gotten to religions of Middle Ages China. That comes next, and we'll look at Buddhism. But what you see in this picture are Buddhist prayer flags, and these mighty mountains bordering China have always played a very important cultural and religious role, especially in the religion of Buddhism, which grew and thrived in the Middle Ages in China. All right. High peaks kept China protected. So our starter question, how do mountains or how do geographic features protect nations and civilizations? Well, these enormous Asian mountains are extremely difficult to get through and help China defend against outside invaders during the Middle Ages. So the Himalayan mountains on the southeast border had great cultural, religious, and political strategic importance to the Chinese. All right, moving on. Okay, our next geographic feature we're going to look at are deserts, and it just so happens that one of the largest deserts in the world, called the Gobi Desert, is in China. It's on the northern border of China. Okay, the Gobi Desert in northern China is one of the largest and driest on Earth, and helped keep China isolated during the Middle Ages. So just like there's mountains on the southern border, there's desert on the northern border. Mountains protect against invaders. So our question now is, well, how would deserts protect against invaders? I'll let you answer that. We will be revisiting our starter question on Friday during our Zoom classroom. So, deserts, why would deserts be a dangerous and difficult place to cross? If you can answer why deserts would be dangerous and difficult, you can probably answer how deserts protected China from invaders. Moving on. Okay, however, the Gobi Desert was not empty. These people known as the Mongols, which we talked about briefly in our discussion about Chinese dynasties. If you remember, the last dynasty during the Middle Ages was the Mongol dynasty. The Mongols eventually did conquer China and take it over. Now the Mongols, they were adapted to the desert. They're one of a handful of tribes on Earth that actually have lived traditionally and permanently in some of the world's biggest and most dangerous deserts. So Mongol raiders, they would hide in the desert. The Gobi Desert was home to Mongol raiders, and China had to strengthen the Great Wall of China during the Middle Ages to keep it out. If you recall, the Tang Dynasty had to extend and strengthen the Great Wall of China to keep these Mongols that lived in the Gobi Desert out. So although deserts form a barrier against invasion, occasionally you have these very hardy desert-like people that live in deserts, and in the case of the Mongols, they were very aggressive. In fact, they were so aggressive that the Great Wall of China had to be built, which we touched on in week 2. Okay, moving on. Okay, deserts are challenging, and the Gobi Desert is no different. Known as the Sea of Death, the Gobi Desert in China is home to some of the highest temperatures and deadliest snakes in the world. So, if you're not a Mongol, would it be safe and effective to cross the Gobi Desert with dangerous animals in addition to high temperatures? So, the Mongols live in the Gobi Desert. There's also tribes such as the Tuareg that live in the Sahara Desert, and these are some of the hardiest people on Earth. It's not surprising that they're very warlike. They've learned to survive in a very challenging environment. Okay, moving on. All right, you guys. Our week 3 activity based on this screencast is titled Middle Ages China, Geography of China, and it includes 5 parts. It'll include the starter question that we looked at, that we started our screencast with, and then a topic text reading, topic text supported questions, independent questions, and enrichment questions. So the starter question, there are no right or wrong answers. And there is no writing. We'll just be answering this in our Zoom classroom. Click on Google Classroom to read about geography of China. Answer the text-based support questions, easy recall level questions. If you want to challenge yourself further and use additional research, you can answer the independent question. And then if you want to go even a step further, on our topic about geography of China, you can go ahead and answer the enrichment question, which will also use additional research to answer. And this has to be done in the race style paragraph. So again, that's all on the activity. So when you click in Schoology on our weekly distance learning folder, you will see instructions for each part of the activity listed on each piece. So if you want to know how to read, how to answer the tech support questions, how to answer independent or enrichment questions, just look at the instructions on the actual document. All right, moving on. Okay, you guys, that concludes our week 3 topic on our unit titled Middle Ages China. Today we looked at geography of China, and we answered a starter question, or began to answer a starter question. How does geography defend against invaders? And we looked at 3 examples. We looked at rivers, mountains, and deserts. So when we meet in our Zoom classroom, prepare yourself to answer that. Also, when we meet in our Zoom classroom, it's a good idea to have completed the activity, which we just discussed a moment ago. And that way we can have a pretty strong discussion in our classroom. So thanks for watching. Stay safe. And I will see you next week. Again, I miss you guys, Mr. Bartleson, Mr. Cortez, Ms. Gallego, and myself. We meet weekly and we talk about you. And if you haven't clicked into Schoology and completed the assignments, we're waiting for you to do that. If you haven't attended the Zoomcast, please attend. It's really, really important and nice for us to see you guys. And let's go ahead and keep the learning rolling, and we'll go from there. Grades will be posted shortly. I'm going to be very lenient in the grading, but at least try to complete some of the activities. And if you want to challenge yourself, go ahead and do the independent and enrichment activities in each activity, and visit our Zoom class. So miss you guys. Stay safe, and text me anytime with questions during office hours from 1 to 2 on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I will respond immediately. Okay? All right, take care and see you soon.